Hey
All right.
guys.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
How's everybody doing this week?
Doing
Doing
good.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. Had a great week and I think I was so inspired by last week's chapter about sleep that I
Mm.
really worked at it this week.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I feel like I have made some major progress. And
Awesome.
What
yeah,
did you do?
Yeah,
well,
tell us what to do.
Yes.
I mean, I started by making sure I set an alarm just maybe 10 minutes before sunrise so that I could get up. I got dressed, I made my bed, quickly fed the dog, and then I went out and took a walk without my glasses on so that I could get the sun right into my eyes. And I did that. I've done that every single day. And I'm actually getting to sleep now. I'm not having any trouble going to sleep.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah. And I'm getting exercise and I'm getting early morning sun. And so like I thought after reading about how it affects insulin resistance, I just
Mhm.
felt really motivated and inspired to really work hard on it this week. And it just didn't take long at all to really make progress.
So is your app showing that you're doing better?
Yeah. Yeah. My sleep quality is in like the upper 80s.
Oh, good.
And yeah, so I have not that it's absolutely perfect, but it's so much better. And I think I just need to I'm trying to figure out the best way to approach it because I'm basing my sleep on when sunrise is, and of course it changes every day, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it is going to change when we have daylight savings, which unfortunately is still a thing. So yeah, there's going to be some tweaks, but yeah, I'm not laying there until 2:30, 3:30 in the morning like I was. I'm getting to sleep probably within 10 minutes or so of when I lay down.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's really good. My problem is getting up in the night. And I think part of that is I was so accustomed to getting up in the night for quite a while. Like because like if the first hint of a sound of the cat barfing would send me straight
Mm,
out of bed, right? And so
yeah.
I was just accustomed to that and I was conditioned to it. And I think partially that's what happens is like I'll wake up and then of course you wake up and it's like, oh man, now I've got to go to the bathroom. And so then I do have one of those lights that has like it's a touch lamp. And so like if you touch it once, it's very dim. And
Hmm.
so that gives me enough light to get to the bathroom. So I'm not turning on bright lights or anything. But yeah, I think that's my problem because I generally don't have a problem going to sleep. Um, and I don't really have a problem with like getting up in the morning, but it's that in the middle of the night thing
Right,
that
right.
is
In
affecting
the
me.
middle of the night. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I found
I'll be
something
walking in my sleep. Yeah.
that's right.
Yes, yes.
I found something that is interesting that I forgot I had. I like to take hot baths and it just relaxes me. And I don't do it every night, but my husband has to go to bed really early because he starts at work at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I have to be, and he's so sensitive to light, like he'll wake up and see the light and that'll mess him up. And so it's been a challenge with taking baths and not waking him up because I can't keep the door open because if I close the bathroom door, the dog will scratch at the door and wake him up, right? And I don't really want to take a bath at
Same.
night, right? I don't really want to take a bath in the complete pitch dark either. So I just completely forgot on my bathtub. I have one of the like modern, it's like a clawfoot, a freestanding bathtub, like the old clawfoot tubs,
Hmm.
and it has a button you can push for lights, and it has a red light.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I
Wow.
just went in there. Yeah. And it gave me enough light to where I could see. And I just put the red light on so that it
Hmm.
wouldn't mess up things for as far as circadian rhythms and all that. And was able to take a hot bath and not wake my husband up.
Nice.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
So I'll be
fun.
utilizing that feature.
Oh, for
Definitely.
sure.
Yeah.
I have
So
been more aware of it. I can't say I've actively been trying because especially on the weekends, I'm just like staying up till 2 a.m. Always. It's always been that way. And
You party animal.
I just like to
It's a bad habit to break.
It is. I just like to be up. I don't like to go to sleep early. I feel like I'm missing out,
Mhm.
And I feel like when I wake up early, I like that feeling and I feel like I get a lot of stuff done. But I don't know. I also get a lot of stuff done really late at night, and that's just like prime time for me. So,
Mhm.
but I did tell my husband about the whole concept of like your, what'd she call it? Your median, um, the median
Yeah.
point of your sleep
Mhm.
basically being you don't want it to be too far off from 1 hour from your off days to your work days. And I noticed one day in particular I did that. I think it was Friday night. I actually went to bed fairly early for me. And I noticed it was only about 1 hour. And I told my husband the next morning, I just felt better, I
Mm.
felt well rested. I felt like I was ready to get up instead of just wanting to lay around half the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, sleep
it's
is
just change
important
is
and
hard.
yeah, I feel the same way. And that was my issue too. Like I felt like I really cherished that time I had in the wee hours of the morning and really enjoyed spending that alone time.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
you know, and so that was hard. It's hard to give up, but I also do enjoy the early morning hours too. So I figured, well, okay, if it's going to make me healthier, I can try to spend the early morning hours being productive instead of the late night and hopefully
Mhm.
feel better.
Mhm.
But yeah. So, but I know I totally get it. It's hard to give up that time. There's
It's funny
something
because I have changed. I used to be the night owl. And of course, that was when my daughter was little too, and see, she would be in bed, and so then I could do stuff because I wasn't distracted by something else. Because I worked second shift way back then anyway, and so then when I would get home at like 11:30, at the house was quiet and everything, so then I was just able to do stuff and have that little alone time for myself. And then I guess partly because my schedule changed, and then partly just because I don't know, something changed as I got older, but about the last maybe 15 years, I've become this early morning person, which I never, like in my youth, ever thought I would be. I never thought I would be an early morning person.
Oh yeah, me
It's
either.
funny how, and I think maybe part of that is just due to just, as you age and maybe just, self-awareness and things like that. And you just kind of shift into a different rhythm.
Responsibilities and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
And it
But
would
yeah, there's
probably
something nice about early morning walk.
like I said before, it would probably be a lot different for me if I had a consistent like 5 day a week. I'm up at this time. I'm going to sleep at this time. But being a nurse is quite inconsistent in your schedule, so you're just all over the place.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I kept my schedule over the weekend, you know,
Oh,
still
that's
got up
good.
early. I figure if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it 7 days a week.
Yeah,
And
generally my problem is not my schedule because like on the weekends, and it's funny, like somebody will say, "Hey, what you been doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I got up at 5:30 and I started gathering up laundry and I was doing," and they're like, "You got up at 5:30? Why? It's the weekend. You need to sleep in." But so I'm pretty good about keeping the same time. Like I said, my problem is just that getting up in the night, and I'm not really sure what I thought about possibly wearing earplugs maybe, or maybe even a sleep mask, trying that.
Yeah, I've
Um,
heard a lot of people are doing the earplugs. Or Carrie, since you like music so much, have you ever thought about wearing like earbuds or I mean maybe not earbuds. Like I have some that go kind of around your ear and they just kind of
uh-huh.
sit right there. So you can turn over on the pillow and it doesn't bother you. And
Oh,
I'll go to sleep listening to like Dr. Barry. It sounds really weird
no, that's not weird.
because I'm not like I don't know how much I'm absorbing of it as I'm going to sleep, but it's just comforting to me. It's a familiar voice, and
Yeah.
he has a comforting voice. So I'll just listen, and then I'll wake up. I might wake up in the middle of the night sometime if I have to go to the bathroom, or like we said before, I just happen to wake up and then I have to go to the bathroom, and it'll be on, I'll be on Eric Westman.
Yeah, because it just keeps playing,
It just
keeps on
keeps
going.
from
Yeah.
one video to
Or
the
you
next.
could do white noise. I mean, there's apps. I mean, if you're
Yeah,
looking
you
to
could do
not
that
wake
too.
up, yeah, maybe
I
have
need to
a
get some
white noise.
other headphones or something like what you were talking about, Kim,
Yeah.
because I do have a couple of meditation things that I've listened to that help you like relax, like you listen to them before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of a meditation thing, and then you just go to sleep afterward. But the problem is my headphones, like if I turn or something, like after I've gone to sleep, it wakes me up because it's, it's an obstruction.
Yeah.
So maybe if I get some other ones and then do
Well,
that.
It's funny. We can talk later, but I actually have my son's over here making a sandwich. If y'all hear some weird noises, I'm not making bodily noises or anything. Anyway, I have an extra pair. I may be able to send you. I mean, I have like 2 identical pair. I did not pay for
Oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we can talk about it later.
Yeah.
All right, but you guys want to get started on the book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good
Yeah.
energy.
All
All right,
right.
chapter 8.
Chapter 8.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think about chapter 8 as a whole?
As a whole.
Lots to talk about.
Yeah, and I agree with a large chunk of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did find a few little things. I'm like, huh. But overall, we've just become too soft in modern society. I mean, we wouldn't survive. We wouldn't make it if the poop hit the fan and the zombie apocalypse happened or whatever, and we had to survive. I mean, we wouldn't make it.
Yeah. Or if the grid was just knocked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I got to thinking through this? I was just like, I just catch myself daydreaming as I'm listening to this, but I got to thinking like, I wonder if we would actually be happier. And I get this from where I've watched The Walking Dead, and I just loved that show.
Uh-huh.
I hate zombies, so when the zombies come on the screen, I'm just like, ugh. But the storyline itself is amazing, right? So, and it just makes you realize, like, these people, even though they're going through such a traumatic time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was awful, like in a way, it's like that's really how it's supposed to be, like you're supposed, not maybe the running thing and all that, but like you're supposed to be out, braving the elements. You're supposed to be going through temperature fluctuations. You're supposed to be, talking to people and be working as a group. And like, there's so many parts of it that I'm like, it would be horrible, but then there would also, maybe it's just me, I like to see the good in things,
I agree
There's
with
so
you
many,
there.
like good on a human level things that come out of stuff, it's just.
And then each person, according to their strength, does whatever for the group. Like one logically plots this, and then the other one hunts, and another one cooks, and one of them might sew clothing or something.
And there's a natural leader that emerges, like it's just wild, like the different parts of your personality that would bring out, and the different things that would make you, it would force you to do that you are so far removed from right now, that are completely natural things that you should be doing every day, and then just also bringing it down a notch, not all the overstimulation, not all the false, artificial light. And what's always bothered me in my own house is the artificial air. I can't stand it. I'm either too hot or too cold. It feels like in the summer, it just feels so icy cold in here, but then it'll feel stuffy. And so we'll turn it back down. But the reason why is because it's artificial air. It's not, it's artificially cooled. It's not like if you walk outside and there's a cool breeze, You have that mix of the sun with the cool breeze. And anyway,
Mhm.
I'm just rambling, but
No, I totally get it. I get it. I have those kinds of thoughts too.
Yeah.
It's like it would almost be better to be in that situation because another thing, as you
like not at
overcame,
first, at
no,
first
not at
would be
first,
horrible.
and it would probably, I mean, it's not, I'm not saying it would be under those circumstances like the zombies or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, if
Obviously.
we were just living, just say off the grid even,
Yeah.
and just the feeling of accomplishment, like if you built something or if you hunted something and you cooked it, or you
Yeah.
fished and cooked it, or you maybe sewed some clothing, or just whatever it is, you would or you would figure out a way to do something that you needed to do. So you would maybe rig up some kind of a water system to where it would put run the water where you want it, so you could gather the water or just whatever. And then you would have this sense of accomplishment, like I did this, and it would sort of build into your confidence, I think, too,
Yeah,
and
and
sort
then
of get you more in touch with
just the
nature.
slowing, like just the
Mhm.
slowing everything down to like where you're actually performing activities of living every day. Like that's your main thing. Part of why our brains get so, anxious and depressed and all this stuff, and she talks about some of this, is because we're so focused, like we're so in our heads. We're
Yeah.
not, the more you're caring for people, the more you're caring for your home, the more you're, doing those just activities of daily living that take a lot of time,
Or
the
you're
less you
thinking
have
about the
to.
future, like you're thinking about, oh, I got to pay the light bill and I've got to
Yeah.
do this. And not saying that you wouldn't be thinking about the future or planning for the future in a off the grid situation, but it's a different type of stress. And we live too much either in the past or too much in the future, and we're not in the
Yeah,
present
we
moment.
really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it lends to one of the key things she talked about, which really jumped out at me, is how we are too comfortable.
Yep.
And it's like we live in a society now where comfort is equated with being a really good thing, and it's taken a toll on our health. And so I like how she does talk about basically stretching ourselves and challenging ourselves to get out of our comfort zone, and especially when it comes to temperature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyways, you guys want to start working through the chapter?
Yeah.
So the chapter is called Replenishing What Modernity Took Away: Movement, Temperature, and Non-Toxic Living. And it was interesting. She said that she read the New York Times article describes sitting for long periods of time as a lethal activity for our health because of increasing metabolic and cardiovascular dysfunction. And then she talks about this, how the effort she went to try to get standing desks for medical
Mm-hmm.
students when she was in medical school, because here they are training people who are supposed to be learning how to heal, but they're sitting. She said they'd be sitting for like 8 hours a day. They'd
Yeah.
have like 10-minute breaks between classes. They could have a meal at the cafe, which served pizza, cheesy pasta, sandwiches, fries, and chips. And that's what these doctors were subjected to day in and day out. Yeah. And so she went actually to try to get the school to add standing desks. They said no. Then she went on a 2-year journey, she said, of a grant-funded, ethics board-approved interventional study of the impact of standing desks in classrooms. She did the whole thing, did a trial with Stanford medical students in 2 years, did this, presented the results, got shot down again.
Yeah.
That is
And I mean, she went through the
unbelievable.
trouble of gathering data and everything.
Like she took 2 years of her life that she
Right.
was in the hardest part of her life, which was medical school, and did all this stuff. And basically it sounded like just because they had this newly funded new building that was just state of the art and everything, they probably didn't want to disrupt the aesthetics of it. It's what
Yep.
it sounds
Right.
like.
They had already designed it. And there were no standing desks, but she said the results were clear. Students reported increased alertness, attention, and engagement during the intervention and wanted standing desk options in classrooms, but nope, they did not get it.
That's crazy. Like for such a high prestigious organization to basically shoot that down with evidence backing. All I had to do was ask my manager one time for standing desks at the charge station, because I'm one of the charge nurses. And within like a month, I had one. A couple weeks, I had one.
Yeah, at my workplace, they were, when we were in the office, they were really good at that. And now I don't have anything like that here at home. I've actually been thinking about doing that, but they were very accommodating when I worked in the office.
At my last job, they had
a standing desk right now. I'm just sitting down.
Yeah. They had standing desks for all of us at my last job because it was outpatient, right? So it's like we did more desk work than you do if you have inpatient. And they had sit to stand desks for everybody. And so that was nice. Of course, when you got orthostatic hypotension, makes it a little more challenging. But it's good. It's good if you don't, for sure. But so she talks about our obsession with sitting, represents a greater theme contributing to bad energy, our desire to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, we celebrate our comfortable, seated, climate-controlled world as a win. And that is so true. It's so
and you know
true.
what? That's even been just most recently, because I can tell you, like when I was in school, I remember in elementary school, we didn't even have air conditioners. And then they had boilers that they would turn on for the winter time. And, so they would wait until they were sure that it was going to stay cold, in other words, and they would turn the boilers on.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like I didn't have air conditioning in my house when I was growing up. I mean, I was a teenager and we got window air conditioners. It was not central heat and air. But while I was growing up, we had, box fans in the window. I mean, that's what we got. And of course, this is a little off subject, but we had honeysuckle growing on the bushes outside my window. And I just remember, having that box fan in the window, and you would hear that hum and you'd feel that breeze coming in and smell that honeysuckle. And to this day, it's a pleasant memory. And I actually do have a box fan in my bedroom. And, when it's, now not when it's 100 degrees, but I mean, I will put it in my window at night and I love it. I love having it.
Carrie, that's how I sleep so well every night. Is I went and bought me a box fan. I actually bought it on vacation. I had a ceiling fan in my room, but I bought it on vacation and I loved it so much. I just brought it home, and now we use it every night. And it's kind of, janky, I guess, but I don't care. It helps me sleep. It's loud and it also keeps me from waking up to every little sound in the house. Like if the boys are
it's white noise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's white noise and it circulates the air, which is healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love my box fan.
I do too. Funny. I remember growing up, we had 2 window unit air conditioners, and I just love that. Like, I don't know, just the sound of them, and it was more connecting with outdoors, because like beside it, you could kind of stick your hand through there. It had these little
the little accordion things
but they were never quite right. So I mean, we even had a snake that got in our house one time.
Oh joy!
Oh my gosh, the snake was like, "Yeah, I'm getting in where it's cool."
Yeah, we actually had one of those half chandeliers hanging on the wall, and it was it was probably home. What was that?
Home interior.
Home interior, and so it was like a half chandelier against the wall, right? And it had candles in it. And my dad called me and my cousin in from playing outside, and he said, "Look up there at that candelabra and see if you see anything." And we're just looking, and we're like, what are we supposed to be seeing? And all of a sudden I see this little head move, and I was like, ah! It was all draped on the candelabra.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, we're in
Oh,
Kentucky. There aren't a lot of super poisonous snakes, right?
Yeah.
I think we have like 2 or 3 poisonous ones, but they're not usually the ones that are mostly around the houses and stuff. So it was just like a little garter snake,
yeah.
something like that. Black snake. I don't know. It wasn't
Oh
anything
my goodness.
poisonous.
Isn't that something though? But and then just in a generation, now every house is built with central heat and air in it.
Yeah.
And then we also have the temperature control in our offices and in our cars. I mean, growing up, we had a 440 air conditioner in our car. It was 4 windows, 40 plus miles an hour. I mean, that was our air conditioner.
Although in Washington State, there's still homes that are built without air conditioning.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how
I mean,
Colorado is too.
depends on where you
Oh.
live. Yeah.
Yeah.
Milder climates, not everything has air conditioning. The apartment that my daughter and her husband moved into is really new and no air conditioning. They had to get
Wow.
a window unit, because it can get warm. It can get kind of warm,
Where is everybody? Where are all of our people? I keep thinking something's wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like-
I'm not seeing
Like
any
we
comments.
usually have the regulars in the
Yeah,
chat.
like Cynthia and different
And I'm not
ones.
seeing anybody. That's so weird. I was
Yeah,
looking at the lives to see what they could be. Maybe they're in somebody else's live, but
I don't know.
Maybe they're watching football.
who
I don't
knows?
know. There must be something going on.
Yeah, I know.
But
I'm like, this is weird.
I know it is kind of weird.
Anyway, they can watch the replay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. definitely.
So where do we want to go from here? So most of this chapter, I feel like I agreed on with most of it. Well, I feel like there wasn't a lot that I saw that was different from us because it was mostly about non-nutrition approaches.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Although I was interested, she said the comment she made on page 211 where she says depression afflicts 75% of domesticated dogs. I kind of was like, really?
what? How do we know?
What? How do we know that?
And
These
so how do you
dogs are
feel?
bred. Well, it's probably eating the same crap that we are.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought because it's like I don't know that fits in with the temperature control and all of that stuff. I mean, it's I think they're just eating garbage and so they're just getting the same illnesses we do.
But I thought it was interesting that she, so she was talking about how we basically have this luxury life. She says it's ironic that we pay for the luxury of comfort and then are sold solutions to remedy the resulting deficiencies. So
that reminds me of like Dr. Like people will like ask a question of Dr. Barry, like on his lives or something like, what do you think about a sauna? And he's like, you don't have to buy a sauna. You know what I'm getting ready to say, Kim. You don't have to buy a sauna.
Roll up the window.
Go outside. Yes.
Yeah, get in your truck, get in your truck and roll up the windows. He says, you'll have you a built-in sauna or go into your attic. And then like the red light, people will ask him about red light therapy too. And he says, oh, I love red light therapy. Get out there in the sun, go outside.
Yeah, well, that's why it is ironic.
I think most of those red lights they sell are LED anyway, so supposedly that doesn't do anything.
Interesting. Well, so it is definitely ironic that we have a life of luxury and then we pay to go to the gym and fitness classes, and do, like I said, sauna, cold plunges, the light therapy, all that, when we just need to go outside. Expose ourselves to the elements.
I stopped allowing myself to pay for a gym that I wasn't going to. And I just told myself, look, if you want to work out, there are plenty of opportunities for you to do that, like literally right outside your house. So I refuse to buy another gym membership in my lifetime until I can prove to myself that I'm going to consistently want to exercise every day. Now, have I done that yet? No, but I'm also saving, probably at least $70 a month for a family
Yeah.
membership we weren't using.
Well, it's true. If you won't do it when there's so much you can do in your
Yeah,
immediate
I mean, I've got
environment.
weights here. There's no reason like it's more what I have found with myself is I like the idea of things, and I will buy things or I will join gyms or do things based on this imaginary life that I have for myself in my head.
Aspirational clutter.
Yes. Instead of just being realistic and being like, okay, Kim, but are you the kind of person that's like just dying to go get up and work out every morning? No. So until you do become that person, maybe you should just like not. Maybe you should just, you have to know yourself,
Yeah. Well, you may be like me. Like I'm not the type that'll be like, okay, I'm going to work out for an hour. Like that's just not me. I don't do that. But will I stop and do 10 countertop push-ups? Yes. Will I do a wall
Yeah.
sit for 30 seconds? Yes. So I'm trying to incorporate more of those little things
Yeah.
throughout my day,
Mm-hmm.
they'll make a difference and they take minimal effort.
And she does talk about, and I've talked about this too, in terms of what I can make work for me, and that's incorporating the movement throughout your day. She says, like, it's good to get some kind of movement. So she was talking about like if you take a chunk of time and go exercise, but then it's found that if you space it out throughout the day and get your movements and reps and whatever in, that it's the consistency. Instead of sitting for like 8 hours and then go working out, maybe if you get up every 30 minutes and go take a walk or
Right.
like do the push-ups or the squats or whatever it is, for a couple of minutes and then come sit back down, that it's better if you just incorporate it. And it just feels more natural to me when I do that.
Yeah.
Well, she brought up a couple of studies where they tested that theory. They had people do like the exercise in one chunk versus splitting it up.
Yep.
And the splitting it up was it better or at least just as good?
Oh yeah,
It was better, I
way
think.
better,
Let's see.
actually.
216, page
I think that was
216.
Yeah, where she was talking about how like if you just do bursts of like sprints for 2 minutes versus
Right.
running at the end of the day, it was better for your blood sugar,
Right.
and that was one of the most fascinating parts of this whole chapter was where she was talking about how your muscles in your your muscles in general, I guess, but like your calf muscles really use a lot of glucose. So like if you'll go for a quick sprint or, a walk or whatever after you eat, that will take up a lot of that glucose out of your bloodstream, and it doesn't even need insulin to do so. I was shocked. I was like, how did I miss that?
Right,
Did you all
right.
know that? I didn't realize that.
No. She said type 2 diabetics can actually be just like normal people they can burn off their glucose without even needing the insulin, just like a normal person.
That was shocking. So I'm thinking
That was definitely shocking.
Exercise is looking more and more like something I need to be doing.
Well, and maybe you just need to do it like the little bits. Find little things, easy things you can do, and
like I'm thinking like after I eat, maybe going on a little walk or going and doing some stairs at work or, just something like a quick burst of energy exercise.
Yeah. Now, just something, even like she said, the HIIT workouts are actually really effective and you don't have to exert too much. It's hard when you're used to avoiding exercise,
Yeah.
I've got my fitness challenge I do with Lindy, from Australia. Yeah. And we have our check-ins every week that we do, but we're doing a one that I'm really liking right now. And we pick someone's YouTube channel and then we just kind of do their fitness videos. The ones now you might like, Kim, because they're they're so doable. And it's called Yes to Next with a number 2, Yes to Next. And the lady who runs it, her name is April, and she does it with her 83-year-old mother. And
Oh, wow.
so and her mother's adorable and funny. And their big, huge, fat cat is always coming into the picture. But she's got like over 400,000 subscribers. Like she's actually
Oh,
trained. And she focuses on people who are beginners, out of shape, or seniors. And her exercises are usually not too long and they're very doable. So it might be something worth checking out. You can
I just subscribed to her, so
we like her so much because we've been doing our like 4-week increments of every 4 weeks we'll try a new channel, and we like her so much we're continuing on with her for the next 4 weeks.
Are you doing this live?
We're doing our weekly updates live.
Oh, okay. Because there are, and I know this, like you can do this on YouTube too, obviously, but there are a lot of people on different social media platforms, not going to name any specifically, but some that I might hang out on a lot. And they do they'll do vibration plate, they'll do their trampoline, and they'll do like a workout. So you can kind of have a mirror person to do it with, because sometimes it's fun having a friend there, and you could get like 2, 3 people, however many, and do that on live even. That'd be cool.
That's true. Yeah. Hadn't even thought about doing something like that. But I mean, it's like if you need accountability, you need someone to kind of come along and be motivating. That's really a good idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, but so it's been helpful, just having that accountability with Lindy has been really helpful. And
yeah, I imagine.
And both of us have so out of shape, after.
Yeah, I've got my trusty hula hoop over here. So I do that. Like sometimes I'll just stop and then I might run downstairs. And of course, that's another thing. Like I don't use the restroom upstairs. Instead, I go downstairs. And then I might get some water, and then I come upstairs, and then I might work for a little bit, and then I'll get my hula hoop for a minute or so, and I'm here with my computer so I can see if something comes up that I need to do, but I'll do my hula hoop, and I'll put it down, and then I might run back down the stairs again, use the bathroom, get more water. So I'm trying to incorporate movement and stuff. And then I've got that dumbbell. I'm not as inclined to use it. I do sometimes, but my hula hoop is my main go-to just to get some extra activity.
That sounds like a good one. So Cheryl said, I'm here listening in as I knit. Oh, Cheryl, you should teach us how to knit.
I crochet. I crochet all the time. I know how to
crochet, but I haven't in years.
I haven't either. Me and my friend Tanya got into crocheting because of her great aunt, and we did for a little while. But I mean, that was like when we were teenagers, and I haven't done it in forever.
Yeah, my mom taught
me. I crochet almost every day. I'm crocheting something, so I get it. Yeah, well, I'm a crochet fanatic. I want to get better at knitting. I can knit a little bit, but I'm definitely
the only thing I hate about crochet stuff is like I can't have anything in my house that's not washable. With 4 boys, 3 dogs.
You can wash crochet stuff.
I know, but it just doesn't come out the same on the other side. Like, is there a trick? Because
it depends on the yarn. It depends on the yarn. You got to follow every yarn has in washing instructions. So you just have to follow the washing instructions. And there are yarns that you don't.
It just hardens it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I washed my son's baby blanket that my mom made, and it just like hardens it kind of. I can't describe it. I mean, it's still a blanket, but it just makes it kind of feel scratchy instead of soft.
Yeah, it might be the type of material, the type of yarn. You have to, because there's yarns that you really shouldn't wash, and then there's other yarns that are fine to wash. Yeah. So it might have been just the type of yarn. So because a lot of yarns that are meant to be washed, washing them will actually make them softer. So it was probably the wrong kind of yarn.
So Cheryl said she worked nights most of her career from 1975 until retirement.
Wow.
She's learning more and more while her body is a mess.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they
definitely.
say that the whole shift work thing, especially nights, like graveyard shift,
Yeah.
really does mess you up.
Yeah.
It really does. I
Well,
had to get off of it. It was just I did it for years, then I went back and then I went to day shift, then I went back to nights. I did it like 3 different times. And I finally told my friend, I said, if I ever try to go back to night shift, can you please just punch me right in the face? Because it would hurt less than the way my body feels. It's
Yeah.
awful.
well, it's interesting. I like the fact that she says muscle contraction is miraculous medicine. And of course, it's because of what it does with your mitochondria. But then in page 215, she says research increasingly shows that muscle is an anti-inflammatory hormone secreting organ. It releases myokines, immune modulating proteins into the blood that limit the inflammatory process. So there's good reason to get your muscles moving because they
Yeah.
actually do help with inflammation.
I need to get moving.
Yeah, well, she talked about the Apple Watch, and how it gives you an alarm once an hour, just to get up and do something. And so it's
Yeah.
good to, yeah,
Of
it's
course, I
good
like to
to,
do a lot of stuff that's not necessarily like something I would think of as exercise, but like for example, yesterday for probably 2 to 3 hours, I was outside cutting all my trees up to where they're more than 6 foot from the ground, because we have these huge trees in our yard. And that
Mhm.
involved me with a pair of hedge clippers on a ladder,
that's
up and down the
exercise.
ladder,
That's
you know,
exercise.
and like I said, we have 3 huge trees. So, and our lot is probably half an acre. So it's like I was just like moving the ladder, picking the ladder up. I mean, I get
Mhm.
plenty of exercise, but mine's mostly from working.
Well, that's exercise.
And I try to
Yeah.
do a lot of squatting too, because I think I learned that was really healthy. It's a very good indicator of health. If you're able to squat, and if you're not able to squat, to try to start squatting for, just short periods of time, and then work your way up, and then work your way up to even kind of doing a little duck walk, as uncomfortable as that is. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, I can stay down there for a long time, but I still don't like to do that duck walk. But it is a really good indicator of, health, and it can just help your balance, and then your hips, especially as women, sometimes our hips, I feel like they get just real tight.
Yeah.
And just getting that movement in there and just kind of rocking back and forth and.
Yeah, and if you can just incorporate that throughout your regular day, then it just becomes
Yeah.
routine. It's just something that you keep doing,
Yeah.
and then you build up on
I do
that.
it every day in the shower. I know it's a weird place to do it, right?
Hey, whatever works,
But
right?
it's gotten to be part of my routine. So I do it every day in the shower. I do it every day at work, emptying Foley catheters. Instead of just bending over at the waist, I squat down and I'll just
Mhm.
sit there for a while. And especially if my patient's unconscious and they're not paying attention anyway, I might stay down there for a while.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But
I haven't tried doing too much squatting. Like I'll try, just some squats, but not staying down. Like last time I've tried to do those, I can't. Like I fall over.
Like
Well,
I'll
hold
go
on to
against
something, Lynn. Hold on to something, because I've got a
yeah.
bed right there
Oh,
in front of me. I can hold on to it if I need to.
yeah.
Or
Yeah, I
and
think
Mhm.
it'd
that's
be okay if
why,
I hold
like, I
on.
wouldn't recommend it in the shower because things are slippery, and I don't want you guys
Yeah,
hurting yourselves.
I
but
get a
but
concussion
you have
probably.
the side of the bathtub, you know. But don't
Yeah.
hurt yourself, please.
Well,
But
like what
I
I'll
wouldn't
do is
care.
there, against the wall, I've got an open wall, and then I can like go against the wall, and then you slide down it until your legs are out, like where you look like a chair,
Yeah.
and then see
Yeah.
how long you can hold it. And I
Yeah.
See,
do
I
those a
think
lot.
I think that's harder than squatting down
Yeah, I do
Oh, it's
those
because
a
hard.
that
lot.
involves your core, like, I mean, really
And
engaging
your
your core.
legs. Oh yeah, I've been doing some wall sits, and yeah, it really engages all your leg muscles. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really good. But yeah, so she definitely talks a lot about the benefits of exercise. So makes me want to get moving for
Yeah, me
sure,
too. Me too.
and help that mitochondria. And she says a single exercise session can increase insulin sensitivity for at least 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
So,
that is quite impressive.
And so
yeah.
then if you actually do it throughout the day, I imagine that those benefits would just kind of carry over then.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so.
So I want to read this because it was just something that kind of brought this point home. But she says, let's see here.
What page are you on?
I want to read the 3 movement patterns that she was talking about. Okay, so your daily movement I'm on page 216.
Okay.
Your daily movement doesn't need to be hard to be effective, but it needs to be frequent. A study of 11 participants completed 4 movement regimens. The first was no exercise. The second one was 20 minutes of jogging before breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The third was 20 minutes of jogging after breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the fourth one was short spurts of jogging for just 3 minutes every half hour through the day.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 movement patterns added up to 60 total minutes of jogging per day. But the results showed something fascinating. The short 3-minute bursts of jogging every half hour significantly reduced post-meal glucose spikes compared to the longer pre- and post-meal jogs. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need to jog to see this effect. Walking works too. A study of 70 healthy, normal weight adults looked at 3 similar scenarios. 1, sitting for 9 hours. 2, walking for 30-minute period once a day, then sitting. 3, regular activity breaks of walking for 1 minute and 40 seconds. Walking for 1 minute and 40 seconds every 30 minutes. While both activity groups walked a grand total of 30 minutes per day, the study showed that the people who took the short walks every 30 minutes had the lowest post-meal glucose peaks and insulin levels. Here's an analogy to drive that point home. If your body needs about 90 ounces of water per day for optimal function, it wouldn't make sense to chug it all in 30 minutes and not drink the rest of the day. Sipping the 90 ounces throughout the day would obviously be much better. Same with movement. So basically, this is very encouraging for me because
Yeah.
I am somebody who's always thought I don't have time for a 1 hour workout in my day. But do I have time to, as she said, use your Apple Watch reminders where, it tells you to stand up and stuff like that. And I think you can program that stuff. I don't know. I've never tried it, but, and I actually turned mine off, but it may be helpful to have that. So like if I'm sitting at my desk, every 30 minutes I can get up and walk around the unit,
Mm-hmm.
something like that just to actually help. And then after meals to make it a conscious effort to get a little bit of walking in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is encouraging, that the little bits of activity throughout the day, which, like I said, I think for me, other than my morning walks, for me, incorporating it throughout the day, I'm much more likely to do it than I am to schedule a block of time later
Yeah, for
to do
sure.
it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I have an extra like a resistance band that's just in a drawer next to where we sit and watch TV. And so
Mhm.
it's really easy to just pull that out and, stand up and do some, exercise with the resistance band.
Yeah.
So, little things. I'm
Well,
finding that that's what's helping me is just adding little things.
and you know what else I like to do? And I'm actually doing it right now. Anytime I'm sitting for a long period of time, I'm doing it. I do like these point my toes and go up back, and then I'll
Oh
kind
yeah.
of do these little leg lifts and just I do stuff like that all the time. And I think that's probably why my legs are fairly toned in relation to, my midsection that is not, because I'm just always doing stuff like that. I always have.
So it really doesn't take a whole lot. I mean,
No.
that's not a lot of effort, right? So it's
And
just
that's
move
probably helping.
the muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
So
good.
our next section is called Be Hot.
Sit in that hot truck.
Oh wait, did we do that one then? We're kind of
No.
skipping around, but yeah. So Be Hot is basically a catchy term that has arisen to refer to more movement through the day, outside of exercise, non-exercise activity, thermogenesis, or NEAT. NEAT refers to any spontaneous physical activity that is not the result of voluntary exercise. Basically, says before the urbanization of work and the transition to a desk-based existence, NEAT was just life. It includes activities of daily living that require movement, like cleaning, grocery shopping, gardening, puttering around the house, walking from car to store, going upstairs, using a standing desk, and playing with kids. Even fidgeting counts. Yay, I got the fidgeting.
Oh, I fidget all the time. I'm
And
a big time
surprisingly,
fidgeter.
available data support that more NEAT could be an essential tool for body weight control. So, parking further away from the store, just doing those activities of daily living that, we were kind of talking about when we were talking about the zombie apocalypse in the beginning. If y'all weren't here for that, sorry, y'all missed it. But basically, just making a life, just, there's certain things you have to do every day just to live, especially if you're, middle class or lower.
Right.
We
You don't have
to
a
do these things
housekeeper
or we're
coming
not going to
in.
have them.
And my Fitbit loves it when I clean. Man, I'll get in, like, it'll give me 20,000 steps if I do give this house a good cleaning. I'm serious. I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't realize and of course, I know it's going by my arm movements, but still, that's activity.
Oh, yeah. And I love it when my Apple Watch asks me, are you working out? I'm like
yes.
Actually, I'm just running to a patient decon, but yeah, we'll call it
we'll go with that.
It counts. That's funny. So, yeah. Well, I think even just like parking farther away from the store, using stairs. I mean, instead of elevators.
Oh my gosh. Stairs is huge. I work on the second floor. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever I should ever be on that elevator, and yet I'm there. Well, and we come in on the ground floor, so technically it's 2 flights of stairs, but still, like, come on, lazy. How lazy am I, right?
And it gets easier. It's not like, okay, at first maybe it's a little more challenging if you're not used to doing stairs all the time, but it does get easier.
Yeah.
So I know one of the doctors that I worked with, he was known when he was doing his work in the hospital, like all of our GI doctors, they took turns at the local hospital, visiting taking care of the GI patients, inpatients stuff. And he was known for never using the elevator. And I think the hospital was like 9 stories.
Oh, wow.
And so whenever we'd have a new nurse that we'd hire, they would usually shadow one of the doctors at the hospital, and we would have to warn them. We have to warn them, if you're going to shadow this doctor, you're going to be, doing stairs. Although he would say, okay, meet me on this floor, right? So you didn't necessarily have to, but he would go up 9 floors if he needed to.
I would be humiliated by the end of that.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, after about 4 flights, I'm so out of breath that I can't even talk to the person that I'm with. It's really embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and he
You
was
work
very
on that.
slender and, there's absolutely no way I would have been one of those that
But
would be
that's
like, I
such
will
a
meet
good
you one floor
That's
up.
such a good way, though, to get in some serious exercise during your day,
Yeah.
just your normal day. And it probably had such an effect on who he was as a doctor, too, as far as like
Yeah.
him being a calm, thinking clearly, making those. I mean, that's very admirable.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of our most loved doctors. He's just the most kind and pleasant and, very calming. Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah. So I guess take stairs.
Yep.
But,
Okay. So next section's called Marketing Over Science. Anybody want to
Mhm.
take this one?
Well, I mean, it's funny because she's talking about there's a lot of confusion about the right form of movement and exercise, and that it's just overwhelming for people because you're just told, do this. No, don't do that. Well, don't do this until you do that. And just, and so then she talks about that it fuels an $800 billion global fitness economy. Think about that. All the money that
wow.
we're spent. And that doctor, for example, he got all that fitness in for nothing.
For
Right.
free.
Now, I mean,
Yeah.
granted, he wasn't lifting, but I mean, it still involves strength. I mean, you have to have strength in your legs to do that many stairs.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely.
And
So think about how
we
he's
have
getting all
stuff.
that natural fitness in, just incorporating it into his day. Whereas so many people, like you were talking about, Kim, about the gym membership, and I did the same thing. I had a gym membership, and finally I canceled it because I was like, I'm not going, and it's a waste of money. You buy it thinking you're going to do it, and I spent the money, or I'm, spending the money, so I'll
Yeah.
do it. And yeah, that's not how it works.
No, and most people that have gym memberships don't go. That's why the gyms are profitable.
Mhm.
And yeah, she says in this section, only 28% of Americans meet the basic guidelines for physical activity. And as I've been listening to more about like this, Casey and Callie Means were at the Senate hearings for health, and
Mhm.
there's so much talk now about helping to improve the health of Americans. And I've been hearing more and more about how our younger generation isn't even fit for military service
Yeah.
because they're so unhealthy and out of shape. That's scary when you think about it, because
It is.
most people would not qualify to be in the military. And yeah, I mean, Kim, you were in the military. So, I mean, can you imagine? Like,
I mean, and I was into sports. I was in good, fairly good shape when I went in at 19. But I still, like, it was still challenging for me. And I had been a cheerleader. I ran cross country. I played softball. Like, I was in a lot of physical activity,
Mhm.
So I
yeah.
don't know.
So we've been raising a sedentary generation of kids that, yeah, that is scary to think of. So,
Yeah, so not only are they sedentary, but then they don't have that community like we used to have, like where you have, like, I don't know if y'all saw recently, Dr. Berry had the thing about free range kids. But
I
basically,
saw that. Oh my God.
and I'm just like,
saw
they
that.
call them, I mean, that's how I raised my kids, but we lived on like a
Yeah, but
farm.
you probably lived out in the country, not in the
We
city.
did.
These
And
people
then
that
when I
live
grew
in
up,
the
of
city,
course,
that's asking for.
yeah, when I was growing up, we lived in a subdivision, but I mean, it was like, well, like, I don't know if y'all have ever seen that movie, The Sandlot, but you know how the group of kids, they would go to the ballpark or to
We
that
had
abandoned
that,
lot.
yeah.
Yes, I love that movie. And they would go to the abandoned lot to play baseball. And, the kids would just like, they would just go and play. And
I
they
mean,
had all the,
you knew, like in the 80s, you knew
Mhm.
where every kid lived. I'm sure in the 80s and before even.
Yep.
You knew
Mhm.
you knew every house that had a kid in the neighborhood. I lived out in the country, but my babysitter's neighborhood, she had a neighborhood kind of like that where literally if a kid didn't come outside and play, we were like, what's
What's
wrong
wrong
with
with
them?
them?
Like,
Yeah, where's so and
They
so?
maybe they're in trouble.
Or,
They're
their
brown.
mom just doesn't like us. We would make up all kinds of stuff like their mom's mean. She won't let them come outside. Who knows why they
Yeah.
didn't come out, but
But we would play until noon, and then our moms would call us to get lunch. And then we'd be right back outside again, and we'd
Mhm.
be in the woods, or there was a little woods next to the subdivision where I lived, and
Yeah.
so we would play in the woods, or we'd just be riding our bikes, or just whatever. And then it would start getting dark, and the street lights would come on, and that was the signal to go home. And so everybody'd go home. And
Yeah.
now they call it free range kids. And
Well, but
you can be a bad parent if you don't let
so
your
these
kids.
people, that woman on Dr. Berry's show was talking about in the city,
Yeah.
like a kid riding the subway. I don't agree with that. I don't care. That's
I
not.
kind of had mixed feelings about that. He was what, 9?
I thought
Was
they
he
were
9
talking
years
like a
old?
4-year-old or something. Like,
No, the 4-year-old was Dr. Berry's son walking down the country
maybe
road.
I misunderstood, but I mean, even so, like, ooh, like
Yeah,
the
he was
city was.
behind him. I mean, he was like a ways behind him, and he was walking along the
Well,
road.
I wasn't talking about Dr. Berry. I thought what
Yeah,
he did was totally fine, but
her
um,
son, I think, was
but like
9.
riding the subway by themselves, like I don't know, maybe it's the country girl in me. I grew up in the country, so the country doesn't scare me. I had friends that came to visit me from the city and they were like, it's scary out here. I'm like, no, honey, it's not scary out here. It's scary where you live.
Yeah.
People are scary. The woods, that ain't scary. So,
Well, people
I
from
would be
the
totally fine
city,
with that.
when they probably what they think of in the country is horror movies that
Yeah,
take
they
place out in
do.
the
They
country.
do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre or some
Mhm.
creature coming out of the woods to get you.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
grew up in those woods, so that wasn't
Mhm.
scary. And we were always out there by ourselves. And if I had woods around my house, I'd let my kids do that too. But we live in the city, so there's a lot of not so good people. It's I think it's just the population. You just come in contact with so many more people that the chances of there being a person with bad intentions in that group is going to go up.
Well, a lot of people will feel safe in the city because even though there's bad people, there's also a ton of witnesses.
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah, but if
surrounded by
you've ever
people,
watched any of those videos where people walk
All they
by
do
and
is
don't
film
even
it.
they'll
help,
film it. Right. Right.
at
So it
least
might
out
be
in
a
the
false
country,
sense
I know people would, like where I grew up,
intervene.
people wouldn't, they
Yeah.
heard somebody screaming a mile away, they'd come and help them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might be a false sense of security for these people that are in the city. Yeah.
Well, I think due diligence is good no matter where you live. I mean, just be aware of your surroundings and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think hovering over your children and just like so many kids, like, I mean, I've heard stories like my daughter knew somebody whose mother taught at a university. And basically, like, there would be kids whose parents would come with them, like, to their, I don't know, like to talk to the teachers and just like, in other words, like stuff that the kid would normally do by themselves. And it
Yeah.
was just, it's like, well, so I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just different
Or
now.
coming to talk to their boss sometimes.
I've heard of that. Dave Ramsey, I think on Dave Ramsey's show, there was a woman somebody who called in, and I don't remember how the subject came up, but they were talking about the parent calling in for the kid, like, oh, well, he's not going to be at work today, or going on a job interview with them, with the kid, going on a job interview with them.
Like setting in the
No.
interview?
Yes.
I've
That
taken
came up on his
interviews,
Entree
but I didn't
Leadership.
sit
One
in
of
there.
the Entree Leadership is like where they work with owners of companies and stuff. And so they were talking about the workforce and stuff. And they were talking about, and in general, they said that in general, like the newer generations, they are very passionate. And you have your really, really good ones and your really, really bad ones. But one of the explanations was one guy wanted to know how to handle if somebody brought and he thought he misheard them at first. And he was like, you mean they brought their parent? And it was like, yes, they brought their mother with them to the job interview. And this is somebody who graduated from college it's not like it was a kid going on their first job interview ever to work at Burger King,
Mhm.
So we have a generation that's physically soft and emotionally soft as
Yeah.
well. But we're the parents, right?
Exactly.
So
So,
I
I mean, it's
don't
kind of,
entirely agree with the emotionally soft part because these kids can take some stuff online that like would hurt my feelings as a Gen Xer.
Well, online, they're completely different. But in real world situations, some of them are just like they can't function. And there's some that are like Carrie said, some are amazing. I mean,
yeah.
there's
Yeah,
some
I think
amazing young
it's
people out
I
there.
just hate to generalize like,
Hmm.
I don't fit the Gen X stereotype, that everybody always talks about. And I don't feel like my kids fit the whole, Gen Z and I don't know
What
about
is the
Gen
Gen
Alpha.
X? I'm a Gen X. I'm one of the first Gen
So people
X's.
are always talking about how we just don't care about anything and we'll hurt your feelings and we're not gonna be soft and stuff and we're not gonna care about your feelings. And I'm like, I'm not like that at all. I'm a very
No.
like
Not like that
I'm a very
either.
caring person and I do get my feelings hurt and
Mhm.
I'm not that person. Like they try to act like everybody was just neglected as children as Gen X and it was a different time and parenting was definitely different, but like I was not neglected by any means,
Mm-mm.
you know.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I guess that falls into the free range kids. I mean, if you look at people now and then they look at how we were raised, they're just stunned. They just think neglect,
Well, and I
and
think that our Gen X, the Gen X's were considered to be like we're like focused on work and put work above family
hmm,
and like really driven and stuff and from that respect.
See,
But
I see that with more like baby boomer.
yeah,
To me,
yeah,
that's more
I
baby
do.
boomer. Like Gen
Yeah.
Xers, we work kind of just like most of our parents were at work. So, because that
We're the
started the
latchkey
period.
generation.
Yeah, like that started the period of time where like most of the women were working along, their husbands and them were both working. So like we're latchkey kids and
Yeah.
I saw some of that, but then my mom also hired a babysitter that I went to, every day when I was younger. So it wasn't like I was coming home by myself at an inappropriate age.
right.
Maybe around 12, I started doing that. Maybe 10 even, I don't know. But like it wasn't every single day. And, I feel like, I mean, there was a lot of time for me to roam and wander when my mom really didn't know where I was at. So that was a little different, but it's not like she would have said, "Oh, yeah, that's perfectly fine for you to do that." She probably would have been like, "You did what?"
You went where?
There just weren't any cell phones or trackers on us.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, like for
Absolutely.
me, I think it was like I favored the boomers in that I've got this work ethic that's just like, I mean, it's like I don't call out. I mean, I had to be like dying, and I don't know why that is, but I don't call out of work unless I just absolutely can't go for some reason. So, and my kids have that same work ethic, and my brother does, but it's not that I would ever like if my kids needed me. I mean, obviously, I would, when they were little, I mean, it's like that's it.
Mhm.
And if they needed me now, like when my mother went in the hospital, I didn't put work over my family. I was like, my mother's in the hospital and I stayed with her for 3 weeks, sleeping
Yeah.
on the little couch thing. So I think it's a combination. I think the Gen Xers kind of had a combination of both.
Yeah.
We have a work
And I
ethic.
mean, Gen X is such a broad,
Yeah.
like the top of Gen X is when? I mean,
65, I
I was
think.
born in 75 and I'm not even the, bottom of
I
Gen
think
X.
Yeah,
it
because I was
goes
born in
from like
66. I think I'm
64,
like in the first.
65 to like
I mean, that's such a
83.
huge range.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
even
the
think that,
generations of like 20 years, right?
yeah, it's
So,
like we really don't have a lot in common either. Like, I don't have a lot in common with people with a lot of people, that are at the other end of Gen X.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, we grew up experiencing different things, especially with technology and stuff. Technology was just bursting on the scene, right? And so a lot of those people were more teenagers. I was like a younger kid, and it's just different.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
generalizing people never works anyway.
No, it doesn't. But it's just
No.
kind of weird that, about the whole, like, for example, the whole movement and just stuff like the gym memberships, all of that stuff, when you could just do it for free. I mean, I think if you could find some way to incorporate it in, it's just we've gotten kind of backwards. And then
Well,
the whole,
all of us have, not just the kids, like the
oh
adults.
yeah, it's all of us, the
We
whole
don't go out as
society.
much as like our parents did, even.
Yep.
Right.
And I don't even think our parents really exercised. I mean, I think probably Gen X was kind of the first, because like the whole let's get physical and all that stuff that came out in the 80s, I mean, I don't really think, like, my parents didn't. They didn't.
Oh, my parents didn't at all.
My parents didn't exercise.
They were slender.
But see, they didn't have to exercise. I mean, I don't mean that. I mean, their parents didn't have to exercise. Like my grandparents, they didn't have to exercise. They were out working on the farm.
Yep.
They were constantly.
They were getting exercise, and they weren't exposed.
Life was exercise.
Obviously, I don't think we're going to make it to the toxin part of the chapter today, but they weren't exposed to all these toxins that we've been exposed to through our life. So I think they have a better chance of being healthy when they don't have all the environmental toxins. But she did talk about the 10,000 steps per day. And I'm glad that she ended up like keeping it simple, saying like start with 7,000 a day, which I can't even get to 7,000 a day. But I wanted to go over the list that she says it helps. So she said simply walking about 10,000 steps per day as compared to lower amounts is associated with the following. So 50% lower dementia risk, 50 to 70% lower risk of premature death, 44% lower risk of getting type 2 diabetes, 31% or more lower risk of obesity, and significant reductions in cancer occurrence, major depression, gastric reflux, and sleep apnea. And then she says 0 medications or surgery can do for chronic disease prevention what walking about 10,000 steps a day can do. Despite this, physicians rarely prescribe exercise to patients. If a medication could slash Alzheimer's risk by 50%, it would be front page news and prescribed to every patient. But this drug does exist. It's walking. Yet less than 16% of doctors prescribe movement to their patients, and 85% of practitioners report 0 training in prescribing exercise.
And that's wild too, because like I know so many people, if their doctors would say, you need to walk after dinner every day, they would do it.
They do it. Yeah.
Because a lot of people, especially the older generation, take everything their doctor says as gospel. So, I mean, I remember my grandfather, his doctor told him he needed to walk. This man didn't walk ever. And after his doctor told him, after your open heart surgery, you need to walk every day. And my grandma would say, well, Bill's on his walk,
Yeah.
He's going for that walk every day.
But yeah, you're right. That generation did everything that their doctors say.
Yeah.
And there are still a lot of other people, like I'm just saying typically, because I just remember every parent that I knew, I mean, everybody that I knew, they would either say, my doctor said I needed this medicine, or my doctor told me to do this, or my doctor said not to eat that, or just whatever. And they did what the doctor said.
Yeah.
So
maybe we need to get back to prescribing some walking,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. So I guess we can finish this section, and maybe that's where we can stop. Yeah. So,
so are we?
Yeah, she talked. Yeah, it was interesting because she had this section that she was talking about the statistics for, the outcomes of people during the pandemic that had COVID-19, and the, comparing people who were active versus the people who were sedentary. And it was just like, it reminded me about how they shut down the gyms. And I realized we're not, we're not proponents of going to the gym, but it was just interesting how they shut down the gyms, and the people who did regularly exercise, they
But
were,
they also didn't, in some areas, people couldn't even go outside.
yeah, there were
That's
definitely areas. Some countries were,
insane.
it's insane, right? They wouldn't let you go to the beach, right? They wouldn't let you go do these activities. And some countries were crazy about it. But this was like, and there was actually data showing that people who did exercise had better outcomes. So this just goes to
Mhm.
show how ridiculous that our medical system can be.
Yeah.
So get fresh air.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, fresh air and movement would do just wonders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and especially if, I mean, even though like you couldn't see your friends, like if you couldn't congregate, at least if you could get outside and walk and, like you said, get some fresh air and just, that movement, get your blood pumping, it would just really
Yeah.
do a lot for your mental health, because a
Yeah.
lot of people suffered mentally through all that too.
Oh yeah. Well, it was interesting. She said, so researchers, the people who were actually doing the research,
Hmm.
made recommendations to urgently pursue preventative avenues to strengthen the mitochondria for best COVID outcomes, with the leading recommendation being exercise, in addition to fresh foods, breathing practices, and general preventive medicine practices. None of this science made it into public health recommendations or any formal guidelines.
That's
Yeah.
shameful, really.
It is shameful. Yeah, it is shameful. So,
And I'm sure they thought, oh, this is a dire situation. We don't have time for all that. No, nobody's going to do that. I'm sure that's what they were thinking. But like, that's the whole reason why our doctors don't give us nutritional advice. And aside from not really having that much nutrition education themselves, but that's the whole reason they don't give it to us, is because like there's this culture of, oh, people are just too stupid to do it. People are
or they
not
won't
going to
do
do
it.
it.
They
People
won't
just
do
won't
it.
They
do
won't do
it.
it.
That
Oh yeah,
people
you're
are
right.
and that's the
Yeah,
same,
everyone
like
wants a pill.
they should give the recommendations, and then, also in addition to whatever they're going to implement.
Well, past trends show that people will do what the so-called experts say. Like, for example, eating according to the food pyramid.
Yeah.
People did that. I mean, they did it.
Yeah.
And during COVID, they followed instructions.
Yeah.
They
Oh
wore
yeah.
the masks. They
Everybody
stayed
followed
6 feet apart.
instructions.
They did. People followed instructions. They gave up cigarettes. When the
Mhm.
Surgeon General determined that cigarettes, caused cancer and were dangerous to your health, people stopped smoking.
Yeah.
So society as a whole, you're going to have people who won't, but I mean,
Yeah.
society as a whole will follow the guidelines. But the problem is they give the wrong guidelines, and then they accuse the people of not doing it.
Or
Right.
they don't, like you said, they give the wrong guide. Like they don't give science-based guidelines. Like
Right.
they have
Right.
evidence for this stuff, and yet they just poo-poo it as, oh, well, that's not really going to help us out here. I understand to a certain extent, but we should receive both. We should receive all of the available information.
Right. And if the research shows that there's it's benefiting people and it's helping outcomes, and they won't include that in the recommendations, then yeah, that's shame on them.
And just
For that.
for somebody to stress to us, because even as a registered nurse, I did not believe that it was possible for food to totally change your health status. I didn't believe it because I had never been exposed to that.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
and just for them to tell people, look, whatever diet you follow, if you'll just make sure that it's good, clean foods that aren't sprayed with tons of pesticides, Of course, that would go against their whole things that they're allowing. Then they'd have to address that they're allowing that to happen, right? And that
Yeah.
all food is not organic. But, if they would just tell you, like, eat real whole foods, it will go a long way. It'll help your metabolic state. That will help you, your body defends against these viruses and bacteria. I mean, people would listen, they
Yeah.
might, everybody might not listen. Everybody might not do it, but a lot of people would, because people want to do the right thing.
Well, they don't want to be sick. People
Yeah.
want to get healthy. They want to lose weight. They want to do whatever it takes to look better, feel better. And so they do what the typical advice is, and then they might lose weight for a while, and they might feel better for a while, and then the wheels fall off, and then they go back to the doctor or whatever, and they either haven't lost weight, or they lost very little, or maybe even gained a little bit, and they're like, but I did what you said, and the doctor's thinking, no, you didn't, until they come across their own personal story, like what Dr. Berry did, when he realized, he started doing what the advice was and realized it didn't work. And the good news is there are a lot of doctors now who are coming out and saying, I followed this advice and it doesn't work. And I actually did the opposite, and I have lost weight, and I have reversed my diabetes.
Yeah.
And
so
you that's what it's going to take.
Like, you almost need a medical education to figure out what the right thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we look at how much the three of us together have studied this stuff for years. And we still sometimes think, am I doing the right thing? Like, it's complex. It's complex, it's very complicated. And, if we could get the doctors who actually have the biochemistry under their belt, and the scientists that have biochemistry, if we could get them to actually, do this stuff on themselves and make recommendations to the people, that would be better than what we have now, which is, a lot of stuff that's not based on science at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. Well, looks like this is going to be a two-parter, huh?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but that's all right.
Yeah, that's a good chapter. It's
very. I mean, there's a lot of information just about the toxins in here.
Mm-hmm.
I almost think that it's like we could cover that. It'd take a week to cover all those toxins.
Yeah,
which that's sad in itself that there's so many.
Yeah. And so we have a break. So next Sunday is the Sunday we're not going to be meeting. So we're going to be picking things up in 2 weeks.
Because I will be at Keto Palooza.
Wow, lucky you.
I'll probably be home by that point. Carrie, if you can get you a ticket, I've got another bed in my hotel room. I will let you sleep there for free.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
If you can just snag you a ticket. I bet you there's somebody out there selling one.
Somebody might be. I wonder if it's like the scalpers and it's like $2,000 for a ticket or something.
Well,
I don't know. I'll see if I can find one.
You never know. Listen, I promise you, I will share my room with you. I think I got 2 queen beds. I don't know what. I got 2 beds of some sort. And,
that would be fun.
That would be so fun.
But if not most likely it won't be this year, but next year, I want us to plan something together.
I do too.
And we can because like you said that you were in that same hotel as where it's held, right, Kim?
This year I am. Last year I wasn't. And that was a little scary.
Yeah. I want to be in that same. That's why I want to get mine early, and it just slipped past me. And then by the time I was like, oh man, I can't get a room there.
Well, there's a big event going on 4th of July of next year.
Oh, really?
Todd Bachnes is having a huge thing in Montana, a big old huge 4th of July thing, and there's a ton of people coming. And
in Montana? That's
a lot of carnivore doctors and Max and Bella and Max are coming, and there's a whole bunch of people. Lindy's going to fly over from Australia for
Oh,
it.
wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe I can see if my brother's going to be off work and me and him can go together. Maybe drive over there. I don't know. That might be a
That is
long
a
time.
long ways.
Yeah.
Well, it's
But a road trip is a road trip. It's always fun. I love road trips.
It's about a 10-hour. It's about is it maybe about a 10-hour drive for me?
I don't even know for me. I've never been out that far.
I haven't been to Montana. Never have.
Well, I've got brother and sister-in-law in Idaho, so we could do like the 6-hour trip over to see them, and then spend the night, and then do the extra 4 hours.
Oh, listen, it's only 25 hours for me. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Well, there's airplanes. There's airplanes.
I have no reason to not go. Yeah, I haven't been on an airplane since I was 19, and I don't have a lot of intention on getting on.
Are you afraid of flying?
I mean, I'm just not super hype on it, like.
Yeah.
I mean, by afraid, isn't everybody who gets on an airplane afraid? I would think that'd be kind of weird if they weren't. I don't know. You're not afraid.
My husband flies them. He feels so safe in airplanes because he just knows how they work.
Yeah, I do not.
Yeah, I mean we have an airplane. So.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So like a Cessna or something like that? Yeah, we have a Cessna.
Yeah.
That is too freaking cool.
Oh yeah, he loves. Oh yeah, he's been flying. He was in the aviation program in college when I met him. And
oh wow,
yeah,
that is awesome.
So there are people who aren't afraid of flying.
To me, that's just bizarre. Like I just think everybody who gets on an airplane is probably gripping the seats like me.
I'm not so much afraid of
that.
I'm not so much afraid of flying as like just gosh, well, right now they're doing construction and stuff. They're rerouting some stuff over by the Nashville airport. And it's a big freaking mess getting in and out of that place. And then plus you got TSA, which I heard though that they've got this thing where you can get like, it's sort of like they do a pre-security check on you, and then
you do it ahead of time.
Bypass it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. But you have to go there to actually physically show up and present your documentation and do all that. It's sort of like getting your passport in a way.
Yeah. I'm planning on doing that because I'm hoping to do more travel in the future. And I don't like standing in line with TSA because of my orthostatic intolerance. It's a little nerve-wracking.
I just get impatient in line.
Oh,
that's just my problem.
I think one of the reasons why I didn't like flying is because every time I would get up there, my ears would not pop. You know how like you can pop your ears, and it would just like hurt so bad. And I tried chewing gum. I tried doing everything. But the best trips that I've ever had on a flight were when I would go in and I would just go to sleep immediately. And I would sleep through the entire thing. I wouldn't even be awake for the takeoff because I'm a really heavy sleeper. So that was the best flight that I ever had because I just was
I can imagine
the whole time.
That would be good.
I thought flying, I was nervous the first time I flew, and I was an adult before I flew for the first time. I was in my 30s. And so, but what was cool, I thought it was like an amusement park ride almost. Cause when you were flying, when you were, taking off, and it was and you were just, and then when you were banking to land, and you were, doing those turns and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I was looking out the window and stuff. But now I've never been in turbulence though. So maybe that would change. If
I was in turbulence in a small plane coming back from the Air Force. I was on a big plane to this one airport, and then we had to get on this little small plane that I felt like the engine was right behind my seat. It was horrible. And it was scary, and I just felt awful. And then, so we were supposed to fly to Jamaica for our honeymoon, and we got married in 2001. So we got married in December, and 9/11 had just happened 3 months before. So of course, all of our plans at that point were just canceled. And so I haven't flown since then.
So
It's been about probably 15 years at least since I've flown.
yeah.
Just,
well,
yeah.
maybe you guys need to take it on as a challenge.
I know. I need to just do it. And a part of me just thinks, oh, it's going to be a pain in the butt. But
yeah. So Cynthia's here. She said her dad always had planes and helicopters, flew everywhere. That's nice.
Oh, wow.
My dad actually flew an ultralight. Y'all know what an ultralight plane is?
Yeah.
It's like a glider with a motor. My dad actually flew one of those. We had one of those at my house.
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, I didn't go up in it or anything, but
wow.
Yeah, my dad loved flying, and my husband, he's had a lot of hours and his dad used to own a plane. I think it was a Cessna, or not a Cessna, but whatever the hell it was. Sorry. Whatever. What was that plane you were talking about, Lynn, that your husband has?
Well, he has a Cessna.
Is it a Cessna? I don't know. I don't know about planes, but anyway, his dad owned a plane.
Cessnas are common.
And so he took so many flight lessons, you know.
I've heard that once
people hear me talk about it, he's going to correct me, I'm sure.
I've heard that once people get that bug, though, the flying bug, like it's addictive, and they just want to fly all the time, and they're obsessed with it.
I can vouch for that. My husband has named his airplane, and I call it it's the other woman.
The other woman. It's great. Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's what I understand. And I mean, you just get that bug, and that's it. You're obsessed.
Okay, so I've been corrected. It was a Cessna 182, whatever that is.
Oh, nice.
Ah,
yeah, nice.
And then what was the other one?
The last plane was a Piper Archer 2.
Piper Archer 2 was the last plane. There was more than one, evidently.
Well,
there were 4.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. These guys who buy their airplanes, it's like you said, it's an obsession, and it does not go away.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, well, we're going to get off here, guys.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be here for our Keto Study Club. Are we going to do our Keto Study Club on Thursday, or are you going to be traveling, Kim?
Yeah, I'll probably be good for that. Yeah, because that'll be Thursday evening. I'm not going to leave till Friday. So
okay. So we'll see you Thursday.
Yeah, unless something comes up, but I'm pretty sure I'll be good for Thursday.
Yeah, well, just let us know.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you soon. Join us in 2 weeks. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for being here, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.